Welcome back, everyone. Tonight, we're discussing Nigeria's housing deficits and what the Bola Tinubu administration is doing to bridge this gap. And I've been speaking with architect Ezekiel Etok. He's the executive director, Estate Services Federal Housing Authority. Architect, thanks so much for staying with us on the program. So before we went to that break, you said in 8 months, you and your team has visited 30 states. Does that cover the first phase?
I would say almost covered the first phase, because first phase was getting land. So I think we've scored over 80% in the first phase, and we're not relaxing. We need to get it 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. That's the first phase. And the second phase actually started this week. You would realize that there's been an advert in the papers for people to bid for the first 17 states that we are starting the pilot, starting the phase one with. So it's already in the papers, and it would run for about 4 months. So I think somewhere on the 23rd of December, it would have completed the bidding process, the application, people who want to, the tendering process, that's the technical word to use, and then we'll now be able to review the tenders. So we're expecting that early in the year, we're going to hit the ground running by doing the awards and then mobilizing to site. And, you know, the first thing when you are going around collecting the land, people are like, what is going on? How much land? We'll just start with what you have, but it's not good enough. You know, we are very, very methodical. So by January, people are going to start saying, wow, this makes sense. And between that period, we're going to open the portal for Nigerians to come in and identify.
So what's the portal?
The portal is, now this is something technical but very, very important. You can't build on a speculative manner. Okay. We're not on budget, which means we're using funds that must repay. So you can't build in a way that the supply exceeds the demand. You can't do that. You must build such that the demand exceeds the supply, you know, in relative terms, not relative, within certain limits, okay? Because you don't want the demand to be 200 and the supply to be 20. I mean, that's a problem. But if the demand is 200 and the supply is 180, is good enough, so that if there's any fallout, you can now back up with the other one. So the portal allows us to gauge the demand pattern from each of the states. It helps us to see the affordability profiling of all those things. What that means is that all our estates are going to be produced to demand, okay? That's why I tell Nigerians, and luckily, FHA is actually, check all our estates. There's none that is an abandoned estate. We have over 50 estates. And people don't know that Shelter, you know, Gwarimpa is just one of our estates. Festac is just one of our estates. Sharada in Nkano is just one of our estates. Then you go to Arugo in Imo State, you go to Diamond Estate. I mean, we have 50 estates, all of them state-of-the-art estates, but largely dilapidated as of today. So we've come in to say, let us try to put those things back and see how we've even started with Festac.
All right, so you've covered 30 states.
Yes,
it has 6 or 7 states to go. What's happening with those states?
You know, you have to go to the state, you have to do your work. So you have to, and we've only been there for about 7-8 months. So you have to pace yourself, you have to time yourself. I am the ED Estate Services. I do an average of 150 files every day. And by the policy, you know, we have a man that just doesn't take no for an answer. And that is our MD.
He's been on the program.
File, sorry?
He's been on the program.
Yes, he's been here. You know, I'm even surprised that he comes on the program, because, I mean, this guy, his own is just hit the ground running, be on the road, be on the desk. He just wants to do the work. His energy level is something else. So he gives us, for instance, no file must be on your desk for more than 24 hours as a policy. I'll tell you something again. When we came, we made approvals that lasted up to 2 years for approval.
Wow.
And I happened to be in charge of approvals. And I said, this is unacceptable. I looked at everything. I said, we can do this in 30 days. I put my foot down. We started getting it. And we got it in 30 days. Just last week, He came to me and said, Elder, he calls me Elder, you know, the Yoruba respect Egbon.
Absolutely.
Actually, in FH, I'm the oldest person. You know, I'm 61. I turned 61 on the 1st of this month. You know, the other executive members, they are younger than I am. Then, you know, when I say it and some staff want to look, I said, no, the fact that you are still here means that you are less than 60. So you declared it, so accept it. Okay, come back to where we were. He came and said, Elder, these 30 days is too much. I want it to be 2 weeks. And he took up the system, created a one-stop shop, and today in FHA, you are sure you'll get internally. Every approval must be done within 2 weeks. And I think these are the sort of stories that Nigerians want to hear. He set up, we meet twice every single week, and you sit all day. You must treat every single thing and get, because some people have the money to build. And when you keep the approval for 6 months, the money will develop wings. And by the time
let's talk about that money. Maybe I should call you Elder as well. But let's talk about...
You can see the white hair, it tells you the story.
But let's talk about another challenge with housing, which is the demand and supply centered around affordability. How affordable?
I'll tell you this. One of the biggest problems that we have are the affordability gap and the cash and carry nature. Nowhere in the world do you get into to housing as if you want to buy a shirt. You pay cash and carry. It doesn't happen. It will never work. That is why Mr. President said, look, I want to unlock at least 2 trillion, even if half is for housing. That means that we are going to have 2 arms, the supply arm and the delivery, the demand arm. In the supply arm, he says, Federal Housing Authority, we need to get money for you to build houses. And then the most important is the demand arm. If I give you a house of 10 million and I say, pay for it over a period of 20 years, you're going to say, wow, that makes sense. But what we have today is that you have to pay immediately, 6 months, maximum 3 years. And as a result, where are you going to get such money from? Unless you go to steal.
Okay.
But when you have a mortgage that is there, it becomes a lot more affordable for you. So Mr. President said, let us give Federal Mortgage Bank money to custody and be able to kind of net off whatever Federal Housing Authority is doing based on a mortgage. And you see, in a mortgage cannot come by way of commercial rate of interest, 30-something%. Nope. A true mortgage is a single-digit figure.
Okay.
Secondly, it has to be with time. And that money does not exist in Nigeria today. Federal Mortgage Bank cannot get that money anywhere. It's only the government that can say, look, come and tell me how I can give you these people's money. And then you make sure that the circle closes by way of the money being returned and not seen as government largesse. And the good thing why he's working with Federal Housing Authority is that we are not on budget. So we don't do all those political patronage kind of stuff. No, we don't. We want to have returns on the investment and not only recover costs, but have something. So we have very strict, construction dynamics. That is why FHA exists. I'll tell you this. It's never happened that we have a new management of Federal Housing Authority and they don't sell land. Sorry, not sell. They don't allocate land. I tell you this, that for the past 8 months, we have not allocated one land. One. Even me, as the ED Estate Service, I don't have one land. Because we came in and we said, look, are we coming here to make money for ourselves? Are we coming here to do the work? Number 2, you'll be shocked to hear this. Now, within government structure, if they give you a car, you have 4 months, 4 years to amortize and get that money to you. That's why most of the people, once they get in, they buy this Prado, they buy cars, you understand, because they have a 4-year tenure. I want to shock you that when we got into FHA, Till today, we are still driving the old Hiluxes that we got from the past administration. I don't have the, it shows a certain, Nigerians need to hear this to know that there are people, if they want to handle pension funds, they are not people who are frivolous with money. They are not people who are rushing to do things. They are people who are taking their time and being extremely meticulous. And you have a set of people who got in there to get the work done. These are the sort of things that Nigerians want to hear, and they're like, okay, that makes sense.
So are there options like rent-to-own schemes and single digits and outright purchase options?
I'll leak a little secret. The little secret is that when we came in, we decided that we're going to not borrow money, but grow our IGR and use our money to start to build. And I don't know to what extent I'm not going to say what I shouldn't say, but my MD has said it publicly before. When we got there, we met about 300 or 400 million, which was like to pay salaries. But I want to tell you that without allocating one land, selling one land, allocating one land, we have been able to raise up to double figure in billions.
How did that happen?
Because we decided to do the core work of Federal Housing Authority. And what is that? You have your ground rent. Go and collect your ground rent. You have people who are coming for approval. Make it easy for them to have the approval so that they will be able to do their work. And for each approval, they are paying you. So the more efficient you are, the more people that come, the more revenue you raise. People can now have their consents very easily, transfer of titles, make all those things transparent. So the MD embarked on massive, aggressive digitalization. Today, we don't carry files in Federal Housing Authority. Because of that, there's this efficiency. People are having trust, and they are starting to come in droves. Then we've also decided we have one of the biggest drones in this country. I think there are just about 3 of such drones. We're able to now look at all the lands that we have. So all those deals that people were doing, this man has sealed up all those things. And by the time we come to bring up our land bank, we should be able to raise over 100 billion. That's what we are targeting. So when you talk in terms of 50,000 housing units, well, that's not where FHA is going.
Architects, it's interesting and it sounds fresh to hear you speak so highly of the housing sector. But Nigerians would say, with the many years, many decades of deficits in that sector, why should we believe in this master plan?
I'll tell you. The reason is that you can go and verify and find out if one of the things... You see, I want somebody to come to this station tomorrow and say what this guy is saying is not true. I want somebody to come here and say that these people have allocated one land. It's unprecedented. That these people, the turnaround time of their approval is not 30 days. I want that disproved. I want them to say, oh, we know they are driving these SUVs and blah, blah, blah. This man is coming here to tell us they are not. No. But if those things are true, then Nigerians are hearing what they've never heard. Okay? Do you know what? I say this, and I want any Nigerian to disprove it. For the past 8 months, except I'm not in Abuja, I'm in office between 8 and 8:30 every single day with the MD. And then when he gets to about 8:30, I'll go and tell MD, I say, Oga, I be elder. I beg no vex. Make her go home. That man is on his seat sometimes till 10:30, 11 p.m. every single day. Now, this is the sort of story Nigerians journalists should verify. And when they verify, let them say, well, there's a ray of hope coming out in FHA. Because that's what we have. Everything I've said, this is television, this is online. So I challenge anybody to come and say, this guy does not go to work 8:30 every day and sit there till 6:30, 7, 8 every single day. And number 2, that this man leaves a file untreated any day on his desk. I don't leave my office until my desk is clear. There was a time it was a little where I'll carry it to my private office, but now I'm able to clear it. So these are the sort of stories. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Nigerians need to know that there are people, you know, yesterday on a sister station, I was listening to the Minister of Interior say certain things. And I said, why can't we let Nigerians know that there are certain stories that can make sense? As of today, in Canada, you do contactless, you know, getting of your passport. Do you get the point? I'm not here to blow an up, but I'm trying to say, Nigerians, things are changing. Things are difficult. I can tell you, like, I mean, I live in this world, and I know that there are so many things the president, he cannot solve all of them. And will not absolve him.
Maybe I should take you up on other sectors.
Yes, there
and
are some.
How you would assess the over a year of this administration. But before that, is the Federal Housing Authority all about houses? I mean, what other projects are under your authority?
Okay. Two things. In the first one, you know, I've been a social commentator for years. Nigerians don't want to know what I think about the economy. They don't want to know. Yeah, that's busybody.
Okay.
The one where we give you. Etok tell us about housing. So I'm not going to tell you about anything about other sector.
Okay.
That's busybody. That's what I used to do before. Now, Nigerians want this man. You've been talking this thing for the past 30 years. Always no mume, work don't come. Oh yeah, tell us what you are doing. So bring housing, I go talk. If you do telecoms, this one I just threw it in to show that there are some stories that touch the heart. I've spent a lot of time abroad, and I know what Nigerians face trying to get their passport, renew passport. I know abroad work, no be like here. For you to go and spend one full day, you know what is costing you. For a man to be able to achieve that, he's done well. But back to housing. Ask me the question about the housing again. That's the one.
All right, so let's continue that. Because before you came on the show, I had people knew you were coming on the show and said the 3 and some questions. So let's get there now, because professionals have said to practically reduce this breach, this housing gap in Nigeria, the government must also review existing land laws. Experts say this act has created a lack of uniformity in the laws governing land issue. How do you react?
I'll tell you this. I went with Madam Okonjo-Iweala to World Bank on this housing thing. And we brought up the issue of Land Use Act. And at World Bank, you know what they told us? They said, please, leave it alone. Let's walk around it.
Okay.
Do you understand me? Don't try to change it because it's a hard task. Can we walk around it? Why I'm bringing that is that as at today, there are certain low-hanging fruits. There is nothing. I want to bring out two things. The first is, when we had telecoms, you're on the young side, but I don't know how young you are that you remember that there was a time that in this country, it was so difficult for you to have a phone. And a minister actually said that the phone is for the rich. But he took one policy and it unlocked so much in the economy of Nigeria, and everybody, all your megad, they have phones. Okay? The same thing, the next big thing is in housing. The housing shortfall in Nigeria creates one of the best real estate markets in the whole world. Why is it not happening? Two things. Number one, political will. For the man on the seat to make certain statements and unlock certain policies. I can tell you one, or if the time will not permit. If not so, I'll take you around a model or two that if you do, which is in the direction that we are going, this country is going to be flooded with money. One of the biggest problems that we have is, look, if I bring my money in, forget about foreign investors, where you talk about foreign exchange. I'm talking of Nigerians. Nigerians get money. There's money in Nigeria. So the question is, you build an estate. The next thing is that even at a good cost, somebody moves into the estate, moves into the house. He does not pay you. He goes to court, and that thing can be held down for about 10 years. It's unacceptable. A little policy, starting with FHA, declare all FHA estates as free zones, so to speak, which means, look, I can build 10,000 housing units in Abuja here or in Lagos. And in these 10,000 housing units, I'm not asking you to do cash and carry. I'm doing rentals. You understand? Rent to own. And I'm having, no, let me just take 1 minute and give you a little example because Nigerians need to know it's possible. I'm telling you, pay me 3 months. Oh, God.
Just go ahead.
Okay. I'm telling you, pay me 3 months. And then they pay me monthly after. Why 3 months? So that any month that you default, the first month, I'll take this and cover. By the second month, I throw you out. And then if you are consistent for 3 years, at the end of 3 years, I'll call you back and say, all the money that you have put together, I'm going to sign you a contract in 5 years, which means everything will come back into rent to own. I don't allow you to pay in advance. No, pay every month, every month. You can pay every month without default. It means that you have a certain capacity. In 3 years, I give you a contract that activates at the end of 5 years. So imagine the house you have lived for the past 10 years, all the rent. The man just comes one day and says, sorry, I want my house. And you are removed.
So in few seconds, what data, what figure is the team working with? Because this, professionals have said this is another major challenge, lack of data. And most times rely on World Bank estimates to approve or disprove our challenges.
Luckily, that answer is, that question is being addressed by the minister right now. And in the census that we are going to do, there's going to be housing census as one of them. So that is going, and again, in FHA, like I said, in our portal, we are going to have our facts and figures and data
so that we work with that portal.
So that's going to be announced very, very soon. I don't want to say something wrong, but very soon that's coming because we are working with facts and data and statistics because we are working with people's money and we can't afford the luxury of being speculative. So at the end of the day, in conclusion, because my time is already up, I think that Mr. President will see housing as probably one of his biggest legacies. All he needs to do is put his foot on that pedal, call us and ask us what we are doing, unlock the money he has said so that we have construction funds and we have mortgages for Nigerians. When that is done, we would have instituted a mortgage culture where even from secondary school they can knowing that there's the funds.
All right.
With that,
from here, we can only wish you and the team the very best. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Architect Ezekiel Etok, Executive Director, Estate Services, Federal Housing Authority. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me
on the program.
And to TVC.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. Tomorrow is another day. Thank you. Good night.